Hey, good morning. So I just spent a wonderful night in Keystone, South Dakota. It's really kind of an interesting little town. Reminds me of almost like Epcot Center, you know, where they have those different worlds made up with like Main Street or Germany or Switzerland, things like that. Well, it's kind of like a little prairie gold mining town with little shops, like rock shops and leather goods and things like that. But you can tell that the buildings aren't any more than about 10 years old, and it just looks like a big facade from the outside. Anyway, so I tell you what, South Dakota is beautiful, but the people here, they're a bit strange. All right, so let me give you an example. So I get to Mount Rushmore yesterday, and I'm standing there taking pictures, and this guy comes up to me, and he's probably, you know, in his mid-30s, and he says, "Hey, I got a really stupid question for you. I'm from here, and I'm not sure who those presidents are." I'm thinking, are you joking? He's just kind of looking at me a little expectantly, and I say, well, one on the left is George Washington, and then there's Thomas Jefferson, and then there's Teddy Roosevelt, and then the one on the right is Abraham Lincoln. He goes, "Oh, I know George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. Cool, thanks." So I'm like, all right. So I go and I'm doing my video. I get done doing my video, and there's this Asian couple, and they walk up to the guy and they say, "Who are the presidents?" And he looks at them, and I'm not standing 2 feet away. He says, "Well, I can help you out with that. I'm a history major. The one on the left is George Washington. The one next to him is Andrew Jackson. And then next to him you have Roosevelt. And then next to him you have Abraham Lincoln. And did you know that Abraham Lincoln was shot behind the ear by a guy by the name of John Wilkes Booth?" And I'm listening to this, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So I get back to my hotel room that night. Awesome hotel room, $50. Place called the Mount Rushmore White House Lodge or something like that. It's basically an Econo Lodge. My room was about 8 feet by 10 feet, but it had a bathtub. So I soaked in the tub. Tub was worth the $50. But then I find out that there's a little bar restaurant just around the corner. So I go over there and I walk in, and there's like 6 seats. 5 of them are taken up by locals, and there's a great big dog sitting behind the bar, and the locals are dressed up like lumbermen, and they're all doing shots of tequila. And I look up, and there's a sign on the wall that says tequila shots, $3, but it's crossed out and it says $2. So I'm kind of laughing. And then all of a sudden, guy goes to, one of the customers goes to light a cigarette, and the bartender says, "Man, you can't smoke in here, we got a customer." So I look at the bartender, I go, "No, that's all right, he can smoke." The bartender says, "Do you smoke?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And the bartender reaches over and he grabs a paper Coca-Cola cup, throws a little water in it, and hands it to me. He goes, "There you go, there's your ashtray." So that kind of gives you an idea of what the local flavor is like here in Keystone. Like I said, gorgeous, interesting. I got a really good night's rest. I got about, 3 good meals in me. Starting to feel human again. Starting to look a little human again. And so today's itinerary. We're going to go down to Hot Springs, South Dakota. Then we're going to swing over to Cheyenne. And then we're going to go down to Longmont and wind our way around to Estes Park. And then tomorrow, I'm headed over to Boulder to hang out with my buddy Waylon Lewis, a.k.a. Elephant Journal, a.k.a. at Elephant Journal, or at Waylon Lewis on Twitter. So check him out. Anyway, more coming. Good morning.